Hello everyone, welcome back to Ace Wisdom. You wake up and they're still watching, not calling, not texting, not apologizing, just watching, silently, from the shadows, like healing wasn't part of your plan, like you were supposed to stay stuck. But guess what? You didn't. You pulled yourself up without closure. You rebuilt your confidence without their validation. You faced every trigger, every tear, every sleepless night, and you're still here. And they, your avoidant ex, they can't stand it, not because they don't care, but because they do, and they hate that they do. Welcome to Week 1. You're healing, they're watching, and this is Volume 5, Episode 37 of our Avoidant X series, Psychological Explanations, What Helps Avoidance Heal. Let's get one thing straight right now. If you've been riding with us since Volume 1, you already know this series doesn't sugarcoat anything. And if this is your first time here, buckle up, because today we're pulling back the curtain on something no one talks about. What actually helps the avoidant heal. Not just distract, not just rebound. Heal. Because there's a twisted irony to all this. They ran because intimacy scared them, but now they're haunted by the connection they swore they didn't need. That's the avoidant mind, an emotional landmine of denial, disconnection, and deep-rooted fear. And if you want to understand what's really going on behind that silence, if you want to stop blaming yourself and start mastering the game, you better watch this episode till the end. Because I'm not just going to break down the avoidant psyche, I'm going to show you exactly what causes them to finally face themselves. You want to know what triggers the avoidant to actually begin their healing journey. Not you waiting, not you chasing, not you begging for clarity. It's you becoming unavailable. It's your silence. It's your glow-up. It's the fact that you've become what they couldn't handle, secure, grounded, and completely out of reach. And today, we're digging deep into the psychology behind that shift. We're talking Carl Jung. We're talking attachment theory. We're talking scientific studies that prove what your gut already knew. Avoidants don't change because you love them. They change because they fear losing the chance to love you again. Now look, if you've been following all the volumes and binging every drop of truth we've delivered so far, thank you, seriously. Your support, your comments, your breakthroughs, they've kept this series alive. And if this episode hits you hard, and I know it will, don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, and like this video right now so you never miss the rest of Volume 5. Because we're not just talking breakups anymore, we're talking psychological warfare, we're talking emotional revenge through evolution, we're talking silence as your superpower. And if you really want to go deeper with us, join the channel membership. Link is right there in the description. You'll get exclusive content, deeper dives, and priority replies from me and the team. And here's your CTA. Comment below with this mantra. I'm healing. They're watching. Say it. Mean it. And let them feel it. You're not spiraling. You're not stuck. You're not chasing someone who wouldn't even meet you halfway. You're done auditioning for someone who couldn't recognize your worth. Now let's talk about why that terrifies them. Let's get into it. Let's get psychological, and let's make them feel every second they wasted pretending you didn't matter. You ready? Good. Because the first person to drop the secret mantra from key point 4 in the comments is getting pinned. Let's begin. Stay focused. Number 1. Avoidants don't heal through love. They heal through loss. Let that sink in. They didn't run because you weren't enough. They ran because they couldn't handle enough. And now, that silence, that distance, that version of you that doesn't reach out anymore, that's their medicine. See, we've been sold a lie. That if you just love someone harder, they'll finally feel safe. That if you're patient enough, kind enough, forgiving enough, they'll stay. But when it comes to avoidance, love doesn't heal them. Absence does. According to attachment theory, avoidants are wired to suppress their need for closeness. Closeness feels like threat. Emotional intimacy feels like invasion. So when you showed up consistently, when you tried to connect, when you stayed loyal, even through their withdrawal, they saw it as pressure. They didn't interpret your love as safety. They interpreted it as a loss of control. And the second they felt that emotional intensity, they ran, they detached. They convinced themselves they didn't need you. But here's where it gets brutal and kind of poetic. They don't begin to feel until you stop giving. The avoidance starts to unravel not when you're available, but when you become unavailable. That's when the cracks show. That's when the thoughts creep in. Why haven't they checked in? Are they really moving on? Did they actually let go of me? Avoidants heal through the void, the empty space where you used to be. And in that silence, the very thing they ran from starts to haunt them. The possibility that they were wrong. They don't process pain in the moment. They delay it. They bury it. They numb it with rebounds, distractions, ego. But when that all fades, when your energy isn't there to absorb anymore, that's when their healing finally begins. Because now they're forced to sit with the one thing they never wanted to face, themselves, their patterns, their fear, their failure to hold on to the one person who actually gave a damn. And guess what? That's when the rewiring starts. Not because they're noble, not because they've suddenly matured, but because your absence hit harder than your presence ever could. So if you're wondering, did cutting contact matter? Did walking away do anything? Did they feel it? Oh, they felt it, and they're still feeling it. Because avoidance isn't strength, it's emotional cowardice dressed up as independence. And when that emotional armor finally cracks, the avoidant has two choices: numb it again and repeat the cycle, or finally confront the truth. They pushed away the one person who made them feel safe, because safety scared them more than loneliness. So don't ever think your silence is passive. Your distance is a lesson. Your healing is the consequence they never saw coming. Let them sit in it. Let the loss teach them what your presence never could. And we're just getting started. In point 2, we're breaking down what makes your healing so damn triggering to them, and how their fragile ego can't cope with the version of you that doesn't flinch anymore. Keep watching. Number 2, your healing triggers. Their shame, not their growth. Let's kill the fantasy. Just because you're healing doesn't mean they're clapping. Avoidants don't watch your glow up and think, wow, I'm so happy for them. No, they watch you rising and feel exposed. Because every time you level up without them, every time you get stronger, clearer, more confident, you're reminding them of everything they refuse to become. Avoidants don't feel inspired by your growth. They feel attacked by it. Why? Because healing reveals the emotional gap between who they pretend to be and who you actually are. While you're working on your inner world, they're still running from theirs. While you're facing your triggers head-on, they're dodging intimacy like it's a threat. And that contrast? It's brutal. It forces them to look at themselves, to feel the weight of the relationship they blew up, to sit with the fact that someone they once had full access to is now a version they couldn't even touch. And here's the kicker. Avoidants are addicted to image, control, self-protection. They want to look like the one who moved on first, the one who wasn't that bothered, the one who had to leave for their peace. So when you start healing faster than them, when you start smiling again without chasing them, when you start attracting better options, deeper connections, a life they're no longer part of, it shatters that illusion. According to psychological research on narcissistic defenses and avoidant patterns, avoidants will often project blame and detach emotionally to protect themselves from shame, not sadness. That shame doesn't always show up as regret. It shows up as bitterness, jealousy, passive aggression, weird stories they tell others to justify their silence. Because seeing you move on doesn't trigger guilt. It triggers insecurity. You're living proof that they fumbled something real. So instead of admitting that truth, they'll do everything to distort the narrative. They'll pretend they're unbothered. They'll act like your growth is fake. They'll dismiss your healing as attention-seeking, because if they acknowledge your transformation, they'd have to admit they were never ready for someone like you. That's what keeps them stuck, and that's what keeps you winning. So don't fall for the illusion that your growth is supposed to wake them up in some poetic healing way. It won't. It'll just expose their avoidance in 4K. And maybe that's exactly what's supposed to happen. Stay locked in, because in point 3, we're going to unravel the core fear avoidants are trying to outrun, and how your self-worth brings it all crashing down. And if you haven't already, subscribe, like, share this with someone who needs it. And don't forget to join the channel membership for exclusive deep dives and behind-the-scenes breakdowns. Now, breathe in, look in the mirror, and remind yourself, my growth is my revenge. Let's keep going. Number 3. The more secure you become, the more unsafe you feel to them. Wild, right? You'd think becoming calm, grounded, emotionally secure would make someone more lovable, more magnetic, more wanted. But to the avoidant, your security feels like a threat. Why? Because it exposes their instability. See, avoidants thrive in emotional imbalance. They feel safest when you're uncertain, when you need them, when you're anxious, confused, off balance, because that gives them the upper hand. But now you're not checking for them. Now your nervous system is regulated. Now you're not reacting, you're observing, and that freaks them out. Psychologist Diane Poole Heller says, avoidants fear intimacy not because they don't want connection, but because they associate closeness with losing themselves. So when you show up stable, authentic, whole, you don't feel like home to them anymore. You feel like exposure. They can't hide behind their emotional detachment. They can't gaslight you into thinking it was all your fault. They can't use silence to control you anymore. Because now, you're not waiting, you're not chasing, you're not explaining your worth to someone who doesn't have the emotional capacity to hold it. And that terrifies them. Your security is a mirror. It reflects how unhealed they still are. And let's be honest, most avoidants aren't built for mirrors. They're built for escape. But your new energy doesn't let them escape. It doesn't beg. It doesn't collapse. It doesn't try to fix what's not broken. It just moves on. And that quiet confidence, that healed posture, that look in your eye that says, I know who I am now, it destroys their old power dynamic. Because now the person they once controlled emotionally is out of reach, out of need, out of their story, and they don't know how to handle that. You became unavailable, not out of revenge, but out of evolution. And that is the real shift. They can't play tug-of-war if you're not holding the rope. So let go of the illusion that being healed will win them back. It won't, but it will win you back. Because the more whole you become, the less you crave people who feel safest in chaos. Stay with me, because point 4 is where it gets deep. We're about to reveal the exact moment most avoidants start their healing process, and the secret mantra that unlocks your next chapter. First person to comment that mantra in point 4, you're getting pinned. If this hit, drop a like, share it, and hit that subscribe button now. And if you're done settling for emotional scraps, join the channel membership. Link is in the description. This isn't just content, it's your comeback arc. Let's go deeper. Number 4. Avoidants don't heal when they leave. They heal when you don't come back. Let's make this brutally clear. The avoidant didn't expect you to walk away. They expected you to wait, to check in, to keep the door open, to orbit their life from a distance, just close enough to feel safe, but just far enough to keep control. That's their pattern. That's their game. Push you away, and trust that your heart is too loyal to close the door. But then something shifted. You didn't beg. You didn't plead. You didn't ask, "Why aren't you choosing me?" You just chose yourself. And that moment, that's when their healing actually begins. Not when they block you, not when they jump into a new situationship, not when they post that forced smile on Instagram, but when you stop circling back. That's when the avoidant has to confront their illusion of control. That's when they realize you weren't always going to be there. That's when the silence becomes deafening. According to clinical psychologist Dr. Lindsay Gibson, emotionally avoidant individuals only begin to reflect once the relationship is over and their former partner's absence becomes impossible to ignore. That reflection, it's not romantic, it's raw. They remember how safe you made them feel. They remember the stability they once rejected. They remember the version of you they didn't know how to love until it was too late. And that's when they start to spiral. Not because they want you back for the right reasons, but because they realize they're not growing without you. That realization, it can either push them into true healing or push them into another distraction to numb the pain. But either way, your decision not to return is the catalyst, because healing doesn't start with comfort. It starts with consequences, and your absence is the one thing they can't gaslight away. They can't avoid it. They can't twist it into their story. You're just not there anymore, and that space, it's loud. So if you've ever questioned whether leaving was the right thing, if you've ever wondered whether cutting contact made a difference, let this be your answer. You did what their fear wouldn't let them do. You chose growth over attachment. And in that choice, you gave both of you the only real shot at healing. Now here's your moment, the turning point. If you've watched this far, I want you to drop this secret mantra in the comments right now. I gave them peace. Now I choose mine. That's the declaration. That's the closure. That's the truth that will set you free. And listen, the first person to comment that mantra below, you're getting pinned. So don't just watch this transformation. Be part of it. Comment the mantra. Like the video. Share it with someone who needs to hear this today. And if you're ready to go even deeper, join the channel membership. Links in the description. Because in point 5, we're going to unpack the silent comeback. What happens when the avoidant realizes you've become someone they no longer even have access to? Let's finish strong. Number 5. When you become unreachable, they start rewriting history. Here's the final slap of truth. The moment your avoidant ex realizes they can't reach you anymore, emotionally, physically, energetically, they don't just reflect. They start rewriting the entire story. Suddenly you were the difficult one. Suddenly they had no choice but to leave. Suddenly they were never that invested anyway. Why? Because the alternative, that they lost someone real due to their own dysfunction, is too painful for their ego to handle. Avoidants don't process regret like healthy people do. They twist it, they bury it, they mutate it into a narrative that protects their fragile self-image. Clinical studies in attachment trauma show avoidant types are more likely to revise emotional memories to justify their detachment and preserve their sense of control. That's why you'll see them telling mutual friends half-truths. That's why you'll hear them minimizing your connection, acting like it wasn't that serious. That's why you'll see them suddenly painting you as the toxic one. Not because it's true, but because your silence left them with no access and no control. And when an avoidant loses control, they rewrite reality. But here's the plot twist. The stronger you become, the more your energy contradicts every lie they try to spin. You're glowing, you're grounded, you're no longer explaining yourself to people who couldn't even face their own shadow. So while they're still stuck editing the past to avoid shame, you're out here building a future. They can't call you needy anymore because you've disappeared. They can't claim you were too emotional when you've gone stone cold. They can't pretend you were chasing when it's them who keep checking your stories, because now you've become unreachable, not out of bitterness, not out of spite, but out of clarity. They lost access not because you blocked them. They lost access because you outgrew them, and deep down they know it. So let them rewrite history. Let them twist the story, because the truth, it always hits harder in silence. This is your comeback era, not to prove anything to them, but to prove everything to yourself. So if this episode lit a fire in you, smash that like button, turn on notifications, drop a comment right now, and tell us where you are in your healing journey. Join the channel membership if you're ready for the next level. Links in the description. And one last thing, if they ever try to come back, just smile. Because the version of you they're returning for doesn't exist anymore. This was Volume 5, Episode 37. Psychological Explanations. What helps avoidance heal? They're watching. You're rising. Now go make sure they feel every second of your silence. I'll see you in the next one. So there it is. Avoidants don't heal when you love them harder. They heal when your love is no longer available. You didn't need closure. You became it. And now, they're watching you do what they never could. Face the pain. Own the lesson. Transform from it. Let them scroll. Let them stalk. Let them sit in silence while you evolve in clarity. Because you're not broken, you're not chasing, you're not stuck in the same damn loop, you're healing. And they're watching, confused, triggered, and silently unraveling. If this episode slapped you with the truth, like the video, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications, because Volume 5 is just getting started. And if you're ready for the unfiltered, members-only breakdowns, join the channel membership. The link's in the description. Trust me, there are things we say in there that YouTube would never allow publicly. And don't forget, drop your thoughts in the comments. Where are you right now in your healing? What finally made you let go? Let's flood that section with clarity and power. And hey, if you were the first one to comment the secret mantra from point 4, check if you've been pinned, because you already know. We reward the real ones who stay till the very end. This was Volume 5, Episode 37, Psychological Explanations. What helps avoidance? Heal, and until next time, keep healing, keep rising, keep becoming the version of you they'll never have access to again. See you in the next one. Stay sharp, stay rare, and let them watch you win in silence.